right now on this planet, we are going through a collective paradigm shift and unraveling that is, no secret to any of us. We can see it. You can turn on the TV, you can look outside. The world is being stirred up in so many ways, whether this is politically, economically, in every single aspect of life. Everything is being stirred up to the surface, and we are seeing the collapse of these systems and structures that have been so rooted in a place of control for hundreds, thousands of years on this planet. And this collective unraveling is not just on a macro level, but it's also on a micro level. And it's directly related to this distortion of the masculine. So today, as we chop it up once again, Sean and myself, I want to have a whole conversation on how this is really connected, especially to us men, and our sacred responsibility to rise up, because we are being called forward right now into our leadership, into our warriorship, into our power. And so let's dive in and release the floodgates.
Let's dive in. Yeah, there is so much external pressure and there's so much internal chaos as we go through this period of literally purging out the code, the information within our genetics of survivalism. And we're stepping onto a whole new chapter, book of the human story. And because of the chaos and because of the stress and all the things distracting us out there and with technology, I find that men have very little space to kind of take a breather, take a second, and tune in to the bigger picture, not only just out there, but within themselves too. And you get caught in this very small box where you're looping on that chaos, on that stress, whatever you want to call it, frequency, energy, thought form loop that's happening. And there's no pause. There's no space to be like, hey, what's actually going on right now? So I think our intention with this message is to do that breather and speak from a grounded place, take a step back, observe what's actually going on, not from a lens of fear, not from a lens of conspiracy theory, anything like that. This is a true lens on what's actually unfolding here that I think is going to be super helpful and provide a lot of context for anyone that finds himself watching this at any point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really important conversation. And, even on the subtlest of levels, we can all feel this. We can feel the brewing that is happening in these waves of energy. And we're going to talk more about what this actually looks like in your life. Before we go into historically what's happening, right? Because we are a part of these major cycles that are transpiring right now on this planet and has been prophesized and spoken about for many, many, many years through all different cultures around the world. I did want to mention, I wrote an article in the beginning of this year, and that article was titled 2026, The Threshold. And it feels very much like that's why we named the video Crossing the Threshold, because, it is that moment, that 11th hour, that dawn in which, wow, we have made it here and we are crossing into a whole nother world. Now, the world that we get to create is up to each and every one of us individually, because it's based on our internal most state of being. How it is we are feeling and experiencing within ourselves is naturally going to create the world that we see. So if we are in fear, if we are in doubt, if we are in lack, we are in limitation and shame, then this is going to create and perpetuate that reality that is appearing in front of us. Also, alternatively, when we are feeling light, we are feeling alive, purposeful, we are in our power, we are also feeling safe and coherent, that's going to create a whole nother reality. And so this conversation is going to move between the macrocosm and the microcosm, because both of them are directly connected, as within, so without. And so I'll turn it over to you to kind of maybe frame a little bit about what has been said about this period of time that we find ourselves in, and I can add more as it comes up.
Yeah, man, there's so many places that you could take this. There's so much to say about what's going on here. Let's just start with a smaller level. The fourth turning, in that book that was written by, his name is escaping me right now. It's a brilliant book, but we're in that time period where generationally, on the smaller cycle of like 300 to 400 years, we've reached a point where, with World War II and the Great Depression, and how men had to really step up and come forward and be all that they are during that time, to then create the easy times and the flourishing and the prosperity, and through the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and those easy times that were created by those men that had to step all the way in are now getting us to a point where we've gotten comfortable with the technology and the advancements. We've gotten super comfortable. And this is a question we all have to look within ourselves to see, of like, wow, how much am I addicted to the comfort and conveniences of modern society right now? And I think if men are being honest, it's like, wow, I'm almost hypnotized by that. On the bigger level, there's a lot of bigger planetary cycles going on that directly affect us. The sun is on its ecliptic path, and it's moving through certain star systems at certain points, and that light, that frequency, which is carrying information that goes right into our DNA, is affecting us as a whole. And this is how, like, throughout history, sun bursts and sun, there's another term that I'm forgetting right now, but it's high periods of solar activity have always coincided with massive combat or war on Earth. And Greg Braden talks a lot about this in his book, Human by Design. There's the fluctuations with the energy of the sun have create a almost like a boiling point on this planet, where there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of conflict. We're in that right now. There's a ton of solar activity, but at the same time, it's mutating our genetics. It's mutating us to higher expressions of who we are and things that we have forgotten about ourselves. So we're going to see a lot of psychic abilities starting to come into the fold. We're going to see a lot of people's intuition come online, where it's not going to be dominated by intellectual navigation of being a human. And I think for men, they have a hard time with that, because we were trained and we're so used to relying on the intellect, on the left side of the brain, which is a very small piece of our actual potential. And again, on the bigger scale, we're in the part of the story, and every single culture, every big culture on planet Earth has had a name for this time that we're in. The Christians called it the second coming, the time of revelation. I'm just going to pull this up because I have it listed here, and I just want to make sure that I get it right. So yeah, in Hinduism, they look at these cycles as the yugas, and we're coming into the golden age, or the in-between phase, where it's out of the iron age, the time of great darkness and lack of awareness and lower consciousness. The natives the Hopis called this the Hopi prophecy, was they called it the great purification process on the planet. And in South America, they talked about the eagle and the condor prophecy, which is very similar to what the Hopis talked about. In Australia, the indigenous called it the rainbow serpent and the era of new dreaming. In Islam, it's the end days and the times of the Mahdi. In the Norse culture, it's Ragnarok, where there was going to be destruction with wars and natural disasters, and then followed by a rebirth of enlightenment. And in Asia, they called this the great turning of the Tao. So all these cycles converging and moving, and we're in the middle of it right now. And it's a very exciting time, but if without proper context and staying in that old box that we're used to of conditioning, it's gonna drive a lot of people into fear. Things are gonna seem like they're all collapsing and there's going to be confusion. And so we're, with a video like this, what we're trying to do is ground people into what's actually going on, and the fact that you, me, us, we all have an incredible role and are here in this body for this time, very specifically to help with this process of evolution. And that's not just spiritual conjecture. That's actual truth.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it there and hand it over to you.
Yeah, well said. And, for anybody that wants to go deeper in these prophecies, I have a whole hour and a half video on it. It's called The Great Solar Flash and the Birth of Human 6.0. I've already broken this down in so many ways. And so, for those of you that want to go deep into that history and understand this from a greater context, wonderful. But really, to pick up where you left off there, what I want to speak to, which I think is really important and really ground this in, is that right now, it's very easy to feel defeated, to feel numb, to feel lonely, isolated, because all of the things that is happening on this grand scale, speaking to the sun and solar activity, speaking to these times we live in, they're all here and designed, intentionally designed to have us confront all of ourselves. That means confronting the darkness, the things that we have unconsciously or even consciously pushed away or disowned or rejected or abandoned within ourselves because it's too scary to look at. All of the things that we've been hiding in the closet that we haven't been wanting to share, whether it's our truth, our voice, our expression, and we've been playing small and just and really repressing all of our really authentic nature. This is because we have, one, been programmed and conditioned and indoctrinated into these ways that it wasn't hasn't been safe for men to speak how they feel or to feel in general. All of these narratives that have been force fed down our throats, all of that is changing. That's why this macro shift that we just spoke to is directly related to the micro shift, the shift that's happening within us and the collapse of this paradigm of masculinity that we have clung to and hold on to for so long. And why is that? Because the fierce feminine energy of this world is rising, and we have deeply oppressed that energy within us, not just as men, but as women, even too. And when that energy is oppressed and suppressed, what does it do? It's going to come up because it's not going to lay dormant for as long as it has. It's ready and it is coming to the surface right now. And we can see it so clearly with the earth itself as a feminine being shaking and showing, hey, it's time, things are shifting. And so all of the ways in which we've been perpetuating, unconsciously or consciously, control, greed, domination, force, all we're going to have to confront all of it. And it's not comfortable. It's not easy, but it's necessary. And the guarantee on the other side of all of this, of actually going in and moving into our hearts, into our body, into our being, is that we get to live a liberated life. We get to step into a greater role in which we're living our purpose and our passion. We're in a sacred role of leadership, of providership, protectorship, stewardship. And we as men, it's our rightful duty to step into that warrior, into that lover, into that king, into all the myths and archetypes that lay dormant within us. But it is on the other side of us looking at ourselves in the mirror, honestly, radically honest. And when we can do that, well, life begins to become fun. We no longer
Yeah.
numb out and, be in these ways of just having to merely exist in mediocrity and complacency. But we get to come out of our shell and show the world who the fuck we are.
Mm, yes. What's coming through for me hearing you share that, so many men right now have, I'll use the term default, maybe I could say acquiesced, gave their power away, or they're spending the majority of their time working a job that they have convinced themselves is good enough. They have convinced themselves is, hey, this is how I provide for my family. This is, I'm used to it. It's almost like you go to a proverbial prison and you've convinced yourself you turn it into gold. It's the golden prison metaphor that we've heard before. Now, I'm not knocking anybody's job at all. Like, if you got a corporate job and it is supporting your family, there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is there's an opportunity, and we're coming into this time where imagine that you get to every day be in your purpose, be doing what you were created specifically to do, to contribute to this process, this evolutionary process. Imagine that you get to wake up every day and do things that you care about, that light you on fire, that open your heart, that bring forth the absolute best of you, that challenge you, that make you continue to rise day after day. And it's an adventure. It's different opportunities week to week. It's you're in places with other people who are in a similar reality, and you're getting to share ideas with them, and you're getting to build things with them. That is available, and it's going to require a lot of men to step through the threshold of into the unknown, because only the little boy, or what you could say archetypally, the survival self, the version of us that thinks we are strictly this little tiny human character, and it just voids out any sense of divineness within us. It shuts that out, and it's like, nope, I'm here, I got to do this. And this isn't something I'm saying like, oh, be a hippie and not pay your bills and just like fuck the system. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying to center yourself and tune in and start to ask the question, what's more? What am I here for? Show me that which is in me. Show me how I can be of the best service to what's happening right now. And when a man is in that place, he will be provided for. His family will be provided for. And he's not in that survival paradigm anymore. And to walk through the threshold of that, which is what you've been speaking to, Chris, is it's very challenging, and it's not easy, and it's probably the scariest fucking thing you're ever going to do. And it's going to bring up all of the survival stuff. Your body, your ego is going to be like, you're going to die. Everything's going to go wrong. You're going to lose it all. Right? But the soul is like, let's go. That's why we're here. Let's go into the unknown and let's find out what's in there. Let's find out what we're made of. And with the advent of AI and this rising technology, there's a lot of fear. I have always had this inner excitement and gnosis that AI is going to take all of the mundane, jobs that people would spend their careers doing, where they don't have to think and they don't have to stretch and be more and find out why they're here. We're not going to have that excuse anymore. We're not going to have the ability to tune out and just go to the mindless stuff and call it a day and then come home and watch TV and drink a beer. Life is forcing us to go through this birth canal to fucking find out who we are. And that is, if you're fighting that, that's going to really suck. If you're trying to hold on to what was and to who you used to be, you're going to get fucking dragged through in the mud. And that's not even a bad thing. That's actually a blessing. And it's happening to so many people right now. Look at your life. You can probably see tons of people that's happening to, probably even in some ways happening to you if you're watching this. So again, this is context, and this is highlighting the point of like, hey, what's in you? That which is within you will save you. And if that which is within you is not expressed, it will also destroy you, which is another way you could talk about what this time actually is.
Really what this all comes down to at the end of the day, it's really crossing the threshold is same as a rites of passage, right? This is what this is. Just call it how it is. It's a rites of passage, not just for us men, but for humanity. But as us men, there's something very sacred in the symbology of all of this, because we, for generations, for eons, had opportunities to work with elders, with other men that would steward and guide us from this journey of boyhood into manhood. And in a way, it's very, very much what's happening right now. We're being called out on our bullshit energetically, and perhaps quite literally physically through our relationships and all of that. And it's calling us forward. In the same how we would walk and go on vision quest or go through these initiatory experiences, that's what is co-conspiring to support us to journey in this way. And these ways of being in the world, they were extremely supportive for us to come into our authentic expression. And so, however that needs to happen, right? And we see this all playing out right now, beautiful. And so, if you are in this moment sitting here and you are resonating in some form or capacity with the words that Sean and I are sharing, it's a really beautiful opportunity and a gift for you to receive what life is showing you. And when you can see it from that perspective and not from the victim, not from life is happening to me, everything is out to get me or harm me, but you can actually deeply observe, first and foremost, notice and trust what is unfolding in your life. And that on the other side of whatever is happening, even if you're in your deepest pain or your darkest hour, that there is a gift awaiting you. There's an opportunity awaiting you on the other side of this. And I know deep down, we all as men, we want deeper connection, intimacy in our partnerships. We desire to live a life that's aligned with our purpose and our soul's mission. We want to be out there to be able to help and support others. We want to be able to live financially free. Whatever the external desire is, all of this must happen, this transformation on the inside first and foremost. So if you're being confronted right now, use this as a time, as a moment, as a period to really get real. And I believe, I truly believe that men's work, us brothers coming together, men doing this healing within themselves, this inner work, this is really truly what is going to create the new paradigm on this planet. Yes, there's many factors to it. We all as humans need to be focused on our inner work. But specifically us men rewriting the historical context of masculinity to come into this new definition. And this new definition is a balancing act. It's a synergy, a symbiosis between the masculine and feminine within us. It's the synarchy. And when we bring these energies together, we are honoring all parts of ourselves. We're honoring that directed, focused, purpose driven, action taker, seeker, while honoring the creative overflow, receptivity, openness, intuitiveness. That side of us that has been deeply oppressed and shut down for so long. And so it can feel quite foreign. But as we bring that to the table, we become a whole man. We become an integrated man. We become an embodied man. We become a safe man. And we become a very powerful man.
Yeah, that's the middle path, as some people call it. One thing we were talking about the other day that I was sharing with you, Chris, some of Rudolf Steiner's teachings, and this is the guy who created the Waldorf schools, biodynamic agriculture based on the cycles of the moon. Brilliant, brilliant man. And something that I think is worth noting and becoming aware of for men is there's these forces that are emerging into the story right now that we all have to know and dance with, whether just most of us are unconscious of it, but we have, with technology coming in, it's going to, people are going to be empowered by that. People are going to merge more with it because it's easier. Like, oh, AI, tell me all the answers. Like, oh, just here you go. Just tell me. Right. And so there's going to be in a way that's going to silently and coercively and in a trickster kind of way pull people's energy and power out. And then on the other side of things, it's going to provide escape. And we're already seeing that, where you can use the technology to just get out of any discomfort you're feeling, numb yourself, and just get away from this as much as possible, whether that's through video games, porn, all that stuff, virtual reality adventures you can take. We're going into that. So from both sides of it, your power is taken. The invitation for men, when you start to do the work within yourself and you start to build your own power, and this might look like I know for me, when my intuition starts speaking, it's like, hey, you need to take a period where you change your diet and you start eating a little bit less. You hold your semen in for a little while to build your life force, and because that's what actually dictates for a man. Your aura and your life force emanates from what's in your balls. But we're so used to shooting that out in different ways, and that's not good or bad either. It's just, if you let it build, you become, it has a magnetism to it, and it starts drawing things towards you, because that's who we're meant to be. And as men, if we can build up this power and clear our antenna by doing some of these things, like switching it up just a little bit different, right? Maybe doing some yoga or moving your body in a new way, lifting some heavy weights to like get yourself really anchored back in. These are the intuitive whispers that start coming in when a man starts desiring to know what his power is like, because let's face it, at the core level, I think most of us are fucking terrified of our power. We really are. It's not so much things out there. I think it's actually our own light and our own power. And we've heard this probably many times, but to ask the question for a man at any level and on any stage, at any point in his development, of like, what would I be? What would my life look like? And what would it feel like for me to be able to hold massive amounts of power? And that this is very important, because the men who have held power in big ways, leaders of countries, the ones that are pulling the puppet strings with humanity, they've abused the shit out of that. They've been corrupted. They've used power for very low consciousness gain. And as part of this story changing, it's going to require men who are rooted in their heart, who are good men, like you said, safe men who people can trust, people can rely on, women feel safe around, that aren't going to be corrupted, because there's a purity there. There's a connection of like, that man knows that he's in harmony with the earth, with all other people, that we're all one family, and he operates from that place. Like, that is true power. But not many of those men have the power that the corrupted ones do at the moment. And that's going to change. And so it's going to, our soul and life itself, even the earth, the intelligence of the earth that's merging with us right now, is going to ask men to start to do practices that build that power, start to create the space where they can start to tune in with their own power and actually feel it, instead of technology distracting you, instead of getting all the answers from AI, like going within yourself, because what's coming alive inside of you, inside of us, is something way more advanced than AI. But because of our immediate gratification shit, we don't want to be patient. We don't want to go through the process of like learning how to tune in and go within ourselves. We want it now. And we have the fragmented attention, and like those things combined are the death of good men who are supposed to be powerful and leaders. And so I wanted to, Rudolf Steiner talked about this like 100 years ago, because he saw it coming. And now we're actually in that time period where these forces have gotten stronger and stronger, and they've manifested through AI, through these other things. We can use them as tools. They're amazing tools. Like I said, they're going to take all the mundane shit away from us that we don't have to do, and we can spend our time doing things we care about. But these are very important things to be aware of as we're going through this, so that we don't get deceived or we don't get hypnotized to let technology merge with us in a way that we won't be able to come back from.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we've spelled it out, we were at a very critical juncture point, a juncture point that, we're going to look back on this time even 20 years from now and say, wow, what an opportunity we had. And so, I invite every man that's a part of this conversation, even woman that's listening to this conversation, really begin to anchor ourselves into what's true right now in our lives and what is available to us through this auspicious and powerful time that we exist in. And, Sean and I are continue to be advocates of this work of men's work, of healing work, of coming together in brotherhood and all of the things that we promote and share. And because we've seen it not only benefit our own lives, but the lives of so many men. So for any man that is watching this video right now and you're like, yes, fuck yes, like I'm feeling this in some capacity and I really want to go deeper and I want to explore myself on these inner planes and inner levels and be able to rise up and expand into my true warrior spirit. Well, there's an opportunity here as well for that. And so Sean and I have a brotherhood. It's called the Elemental Brotherhood. This is a way to gather monthly within this space and to have these conversations, to be able to share yourself, to get all that weight that you've been carrying off of your chest, off your shoulders and out, and really have you tap into that power, that potential that exists within you. So the link for that is below. And of course, we have retreats as well. You can always come to one of our in-person gathering experiences, most immersive, transformative types of experiences, all in nature, all to support you in stepping into who you truly are here to be. So with that being said, all that's below. And yeah, really, really thankful you tuned in today.
Just last point too, for anyone who's watching, if you made it this far, amazing. Your attention's not destroyed. That's awesome. This is it's bigger than us individually. It's we coming together in this way as men in community is the path forward. And from a very deep place in my own heart, and I know Chris feels the same way, this is why we've dedicated so much of our life to this, because we've gone through deep initiations within this process. And when you do that, you don't have any other option but then to turn around and help others with it too. It's just an innate built-in thing that you do once you go through certain things. And you don't have to continue down the road of suffering and lone wolf and looping and stress and survival. Like, give yourself at least the possibility of seeing what happens by joining a community. Maybe it's your first time doing something like that. Maybe there's a lot of resistance to doing a retreat, or maybe you just see men's work and you feel an aversion or whatever. I just invite you to lean into that, because I felt that too. Chris has. And there's so much on the other side of that. And like from my heart, I want to see you thrive. I want to see you be the man that you're here to be, for your family, for your children, for the people around you, like for our planet. This is a big deal, and you are a part of it, and you can pretend like you're not, but you are. Okay? And life is not going to let you stay hidden and stay, like Chris said, in the place of mediocrity. There's something way bigger within you that's calling you to go full blast with this and find out, fuck around and find out. So just give yourself that chance, whether it's here with us or anywhere. That's my parting message here from my heart, because we can't ignore this stuff anymore.
Yeah, full agreement. Well, guys, we'll be back for more conversations. Appreciate you tuning in today. And again, for those that want to go deeper, all the links are below.